I underestimated this team. But can you blame me? Can you blame me for underestimating this team? After a lucky win versus Monza, I don't think anybody predicted that Milan would win this game 3-1 in a fashion that they did. And if you did, go play the lottery. Go play the lottery because you know something that we don't. Go win yourself some money. Fonseca would change this lineup once again, but this time a whole new formation, a 3-4-3, and we looked brilliant. Balanced in all areas, players looked comfortable in their roles, and everybody pulled their weight in this one. Musa was a standout for me, being a surprise name on the team sheet, but in that right mid spot, he looked great, offering some cover for Emerson Royale while also being an option in the midfield for Fofana and Reinders. Early on, Milan would get a corner kick, and Pulisic would whip in a cross met by Malik Thiaw, who not only scores his first goal for AC Milan, but gives us the lead in 12 minutes. And we will all get flashbacks from that Liverpool game going up early, but Pulisic once again delivering on the big stage, and he would be absolutely influential in this match. But Malik Thiaw is the one that I wanted to talk about. Someone who we thought was exiled from this group early on this season with the arrival of Pavlovic. There was no real clear pathway for Thiaw to come back into this lineup, but he clawed his way back into the team, and he looked great, being a physical presence in the defense and looked great next to Tomori. And of course, I hope his form continues and establishes himself in this defense after what we were promised when he would come to the club. And some time would pass, and I think we expected a reaction from Real Madrid, and our main concern in this game would be how Emerson would deal with Vinicius Jr., and in pure Emerson fashion, he fouls Vinny in the box, a clear-cut penalty, nowhere near the ball, and Vinicius Panenka's Mike Mignon to level the scoring. And you know that one Jordan meme? I think Mike Mignon definitely took this one personal because from there, I don't think he was letting anything past him in the goal. And we were expecting either Real Madrid to keep the pressure on or Milan to regress in the game, but we really kept our foot on the gas and we stayed in the match being a threat. And Yunus Musa, Reinders, and Fofana were great in the midfield, being super crucial in all aspects of the game, defending, attacking, and just keeping possession and circulating the ball well to both sides. And with a quick interception from Fofana, he dishes it quickly out to Pulisic, who finds Leao in the box, who does well to create space for himself to take a shot, and it gets paired away from Lunin, but straight into the path of Alvaro Morata, who isn't even being tracked to this loose ball and puts it away for Milan to take the lead 2-1. And what I really liked about Morata in this game was that he stayed in his position, the number 9, and not really dropping back as much as we saw in the Monza game, but it allowed the midfield to flow, and just having an option up top, it paid dividends. And it's just crazy to me how people really thought that this Morata signing wouldn't be beneficial to us after having Giroud, who wasn't really mobile as a lot or who wouldn't really press at all. And Morata in all aspects clears Giroud in that part. And of course, not only of his contributions on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. He said some great things about Leao, how he was our best player and we need him to be, and we all trust him as well. I just thought it was great that Morata was saying these kind things to Leao. And overall, our first half was pretty good. And I think a lot of us were having flashbacks to what happened in that Dortmund game as well, because they were up 2-0, and I think a lot of us were on the edge a little bit, and at least for me, I wasn't getting carried away at all, especially because Brahim and Camavinga were coming in. And I think the best thing for us to do at that time was just let Madrid play a little bit and take our chances on the counterattack. And we defended well, we stayed compact, and we were disciplined when it came to Real Madrid attacking our box. And Mike Maignan coming up with huge, crucial saves to keep us in the game. And when the time came, we took our chance on a lethal counterattack. With Reinders having a great moment of dribbling and keeping the ball, Leao was open on that wing, who wasn't giving Lucas Vazquez a break all game, and pushing away Eder Militao, leaving Lucas Vazquez in the dust. He makes a solid pass back to TG, who makes a run into the box, megging Lunin to give Milan the lead 3-1. Now let's talk about Leao, man. Leao this season has been under a lot of criticism and a lot of judgment because of his defensive contributions, but for me, he was doing everything great this game. Yes, he was coming back and playing defense at times, but for me, what was really the most important thing was that he was in a position for himself to thrive in. He was damn near hugging the touchline the whole game, dragging out defenders for from Real Madrid to make space for his teammates. I mean, in that last goal, Leao was on that left-hand side, pushing players and leaving them in the dust, and had just left space open for Reinders to make a run in the box. And of course, Leao does what he does best, finds Reinders in that position for him to score. And what a player Reinders is. I predicted in my season prediction video that Reinders was going to be our most important player. And from then, I haven't looked back. And we look like a threatening team when TG is on, and he's one of our most skilled players who can do anything. He can play make, he can score, he can track back, he can defend. And hands down, he's been our best midfielder for AC Milan in the last decade. And yes, the sale of Tonali did hurt a little bit, but when you see a guy like Reinders on the pitch for AC Milan, it makes the sale of Tonali hurt a lot less. And for 20 million plus bonuses, we have to give our flowers to the management on this one. What a player this guy is. And I think a lot of eyes need to be watching him more, and a lot of lips need to be talking about him, because he's a special player and he showcased it on the biggest stage. In moments past where Milan were defending well and keeping the game under control until Real Madrid would eventually pull one back with a cross from Vinicius Jr., we'd get punched away from Mike Maignan, and Rudiger would take a volley and bring Madrid back from 1 goal behind. Fortunately, it was called for offside, and I thought it was funny. Shout out to my boy Spox. He said that it was ironic that Real Madrid scored an offside goal after how many offsides they were against Barcelona. Even in that game, they scored an offside goal. So then in this game, of course, they were down and they scored an offside goal. But it got chopped off, rightfully so. And right away, Milan go on the counterattack with Theo bombing down that left-hand side, left to find Loftus-Cheek, who hits it right at Lunin to prevent us from getting a fourth. And with that being the last action of the game, really, Milan walk away coming out of the Bernabeu with 3 goals and 3 points. And there's not a lot of negatives to say in this match, really, if I'm being honest. And I'm gotta give my flowers to Fonseca on this one, because despite, some previous results really not going our way, and the tide was starting to turn a little bit, but of course he brings me right back in, and he got it right 100% in this one. The correct game plan going into this game, and the 3-4-3 was the absolute perfect formation for us going forward, because it gets the best out of our players. It allowed the freedom for Leao and Theo to work their magic on that left-hand side. And on that right-hand side, Musa, it worked great in defensive transition to give some relief on that right-hand side, something that we've been critical about all year. And of course, the defense pulled their weight too. Despite Emerson giving away a silly penalty early on, Tomori and Thiaw were great in that back line, and hopefully rekindling their partnership in the back. And Mike Maignan, of course, what a beast this guy is. And today was hands down the best game he played in a Milan shirt. And I said in a previous video a couple ones back that he is back in his Scudetto winning form, if not better, and he most definitely is. And I think it's great to see. So let's go to tops and flops. Tops, a rare occurrence where it's one of those where you just take your pick. You could easily say Leao being influential on that left-hand side, being a threat all game, literally beating players one-on-one, pushing them down and everything, just being a threat all game. You could say TG Reinders having his fingerprints all over this game. You could say Yunus Musa for his defensive contributions, but for me, like I said, this was his best performance in a Milan shirt. I'm going to say Mike Maignan for keeping us in the game, preventing easily 2 to 3 goals in this match. Mentality monster, especially after being chipped. Now, flop, it's going to be a bit harsh because I think we did play good, but it's got to go to Emerson just because he gave away the penalty, but there's not really much else to say because I think he actually played a pretty good match. And this match reminds me of the one versus Inter where we dominated and really showed our quality, and Fonseca in that game got the game plan right as well. But I really liked what Christian Pulisic said after the game. This result won't mean anything versus Real Madrid unless we stay consistent and build off of this win. And I know this is a little bit cliche to say, and I said this after the Inter game after we won, but our season really starts now. And I think it's going to be a lot different this time around because beating Inter is one thing, but to beat the defending Champions League holders in their own backyard in convincing fashion like we did, I think the players are now on Fonseca's side, and I think all of us fans should be as well. And this was a huge statement win, and now I think that all players will be on board. And despite some bumps in the road that we had earlier on, to get here, I think we can ride this momentum at least to the end of the year, or at least really after until the Champions League group stage ends. And if you really look at the remaining schedule for Champions League, our last 4 games sound like this. We got Slovan Bratislava, Dinamo Zagreb, Red Star Belgrade, and Girona. And I think we can make a case for ourselves to get into the top 8 in this edition of the Champions League to qualify directly into the next round. I think that'll do it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys get involved in the comment section below. What did you guys like about this game? Who is a standout player for you? And what does Milan have to do to stay consistent going forward? Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao ragazzi.